Old Fashioned Football on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost, the bank account built for bettors. Sign up today with edgeboost.bet with promo code SGPN and get a free Refs Are Terrorists t-shirt. Claim your shirt at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/refs. We're also brought to you by Naira Bets. Get your $25 free bet for the Belmont by going to nyrabets.com/SGPN25, promo code SGPN25.
Hey, what's up? This is Sam Acho, and you're listening to Old Fashioned Football.
Welcome to Old Fashioned Football. If you're wondering who you listen to, this is J Mark. You can find me on the X at J Mark Football. And if you're wondering who us is, that's at Old Fashioned FB. Before I keep going to talk about this NFL news, these quarterback training camp battles, got to bring in my co-host on the pod End in Life. You can find her on the X at the Mark. How you doing today?
Frazzled.
I
think you even used that word to describe me earlier.
I asked if you were frazzled because you seemed a little frazzled. I didn't mean
it's been a lot
it by
today.
offense. That could have been one of those things where, and that's how the fight started. I mean, yeah. And
it's been just a crazy, it's Thursday, right?
It is Thursday.
Okay. It's just been a crazy.
It is Thursday. It is the kickoff in 15 minutes for the CFL. I'm stoked about that. I know you don't get into the CFL, but I am stoked.
I get into it through you.
There you go.
I know limited.
Run to the sports books, play Ottawa money line. They're going to win tonight. I think it's plus 150 right now. So make sure you go do that. You know, when our intro was rolling, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but we got a little side convo going on as it was rolling. And I usually use that time to post.
Instagram isn't working.
That's what it is. Yes. For our Insta crowd, you can't see this. So I guess you're not upset about it, but, yeah, the streaming platform is having issues. I did read that earlier today. Does not look like it's been fixed.
Nope.
So
it is not.
Sorry, Insta. If you know the Insta people, come tell them to come join us on YouTube, I guess. Right? Miranda, I just wanted to touch over something because we had a nice little date last night.
Oh my God. Yes, we can call it a date.
Yeah, we had a nice little date.
We waved across the pasture to each other.
We did, a little life on the acreage. Some of the people that maybe are listening in California, or maybe they just don't live on an acreage. Not a ton of people too. We have been very lucky to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. We had a mowing date last night because we currently have two mowers because we're borrowing your dad's.
Because our zero turn.
Yeah.
Was
if you know
broken.
If you know Colby Dant, he refers to me as the no turn J Mark because he didn't know what a zero turn was. But yeah, it was broken. It is fixed now. Mm-hmm. So you were on your dad's John Deere.
Yes.
And I was on the old no turn. And had a nice little date, waved at each other.
It still took us 2 hours to get that dang pasture done with two people.
I know.
You pointed out I was being OCD.
You were very meticulous. Very meticulous, I should say. Yes.
You're over there zooming. Yeah, to the point where when I was done with my half of the pasture, I drove over and I didn't tell you this, so you're going to find out right now. I remowed a couple lines of yours because I didn't like how they looked.
Sometimes you got to go with what's quick.
I know.
I'm just saying. I believe as you were going down one row, I made two passes up and down in that time. Mm-hmm. Just moving a little quicker. That's all. And I apologize.
I also
go ahead.
Don't want to I also had this side of the pasture that has some more rough terrain.
That's
and I
true.
did not want to damage my parents' mower.
Oh, I just fly on it because I know it can take it.
It can handle it?
Yeah. It's ours that doesn't take it as well. I'm there bouncing around, but that's how it goes. Mm-hmm. Anyways, just a little insight.
That beers on the mower? I just saw that.
Yeah, Channing checking in. Cheers. Beers on the mower. I bet Channing's excited for the kickoff of the CFL, being a fellow Canadian. Well, not fellow. I'm not a Canadian. Mm-hmm. Being a Canadian, though. We did not have any beers.
We didn't.
I did have a beer after. You didn't know that because I sat outside while you went to clean up, and I waited and I grabbed myself. I rarely have beer.
I am not a beer person. I will do hard teas. Yeah. We have hard teas in the garage fridge.
Yes. Now you could have had that on the John Deere. The zero
turn.
I
had a cup holder.
Yeah.
I noticed that at one point.
Has a cup holder, but you're doing this the whole time, so it's kind of hard to hold the beer unless you can get it finagled with your knees, which I have not figured out. Not talented enough, but so no beers on the mower. I did have a beer after. I don't drink beer very often, but my allergens were driving me nuts. They're still driving me crazy today. I was a little overheated. So I was like,
and especially when you mow the pasture, you're getting everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's not just your nice grass out there. Just throwing that. It's
all the
there.
Things.
Yeah. We have some news to cover in the NFL, a little bit of drama going on. It's June 5th. So, what do you do to talk about the NFL on June 5th? Of course, you break down OTA battles that probably don't matter right now, but we're going to be talking about quarterbacks specifically because you can place some bets on these. So we're going to discuss them. Then I'm going to walk through some bets on who's going to be starting week 1 and who's going to take the most snaps, because that's not, as we know, always the same.
Right.
I know everybody's waiting for me to talk about and you to talk about some NFL news. You're going to have to keep waiting. But before we get into any of that, what are we drinking today?
Okay, so we didn't get to do Top Shelf May.
Yes.
We're doing Top Shelf June. This is our first. Oh my mind is okay. I was like, "Is this our first June podcast?" Yes, this is our first June podcast.
It is only June 6th or 5th, as I just pointed out.
So we are starting off Top Shelf June with Blanton's.
Yes,
and we are going to share the old fashioned today. I will just fully admit in advance, Blanton's is not my favorite bourbon. It's not my do you know what I mean?
Let's not bury the lead
but no,
here.
But even though it still seems like you shouldn't put it in a cocktail.
Yeah.
But we're doing it because that's what we do. We try it in an old fashioned. We try it.
We got to score it in a cocktail.
And we've got to score it in a cocktail.
Yeah.
So, and I've been watching this cocktail because you filled this thing.
Okay. It was not that full, but when I put this ice cube in, it really, I'm not sure
looks
what's going on.
Like it's going to overflow. So I'm going to start trying it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. While you're doing that, I'm going to let you know that the Stanley Cup final is here. And the Hockey Gambling Podcast is giving away an NHL jersey and $200 in the SGPN gift cards. Enter for free at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Stanley Cup. I don't think you have much more time to do that. Let's jump right into it. Actually, just kidding. I know you're all waiting for us to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Nick Fortune in the chat. I can't wait to hear J-Mark discuss his new BFF. I was hoping I wasn't going to have to ever talk about him again. I was hoping that he was going to retire. Can't call it riding into the sunset because he has sucked the past couple of years, but you're going to have to be patient because we had planned on talking about the quarterback situation battle at the Steelers, which now is presumably resolved. So let's talk a little bit different stuff. I have two things I want to cover.
Okay.
A retirement. Lions center Frank Ragnow has retired after, I believe, 7 seasons with the Lions. Came as a little bit of a surprise. It's going to be interesting to see how this is going to affect what has been a very solid offensive line the past couple of years. Now, they did draft a guard/center, so maybe they knew a little bit about it, but he's not a replacement for Ragnow right now anyways. If you look at the numbers, he made their team better. When he started in games, they were top 5 in EPA, which is expected points added. When he wasn't starting, it dropped them down to 16th.
I want to throw out, this guy is just a football dude because he has played through some wild injuries. Correct me if I'm wrong, he had a fractured throat.
He played through a fractured throat.
I don't even know. That just sounds like he did it.
There are some injuries that the names of them don't make a lot of sense. Turf toe. That doesn't sound that bad, but it can be extremely painful. What is a turf toe? Fractured throat.
It's stop.
You know what it is.
I don't even want to move. Thinking about that, no. I just can't. But the loss of him, I feel like could really impact this team.
Yeah, especially the run game, which hashtag shout out to the David Montgomery managers who I traded to you. Before this, though, this was not some cahoots where I was like, oh, this guy retired.
Well, now first, I almost didn't want to do I wanted to do the trade with you, but I was like, this seems like favoritism. I pushed back and forth with you to make sure that I wasn't getting the upper hand in the trade with what we were doing, because you were getting draft picks.
Right. Yes, I was.
Rookie draft picks.
Yes.
And but now I don't know. I don't know if I'm coming out ahead on that trade.
I do think he'll still be fine, but I guess we'll have to wait and see, right? The other thing I wanted to talk about, this was a news story that I just blocked out, but I had not heard this until I was listening to Greg Rosenthal, and he was talking about the Bears, and he discussed that one of the reasons the Bears hired Matt Eberflus is because he doesn't curse.
Because that's what I care about in a coach.
Right? Talk about an old ass organization.
He doesn't get passionate on the field.
Right? Right? You know, Ben Johnson is there yelling at these guys, quit being dumb motherfuckers. This is how I told you to do it. Yeah, I just think that's that's one of the reasons they cited for why they hired him over some other candidates, because he doesn't curse.
Well, I wish I wouldn't have known this. Like,
fuck. That's all I can say to that.
The Bears they do seem more old school.
Yeah. Now they're looking like they're maybe changing their ways a little bit. Rest in peace, Virginia McCaskey, but she passed away. They hire one of the top offensive minded coaches. They put money into the offensive line. I believe the past handful of years, they've been one of the last in the league in money in the offensive line. I think they're top 12 now.
Which is awesome.
We're changing.
Yeah.
I believe I just heard our AC try to kick on and not kick on. So that's awesome. Life on the Acreage.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear that shit. Does that mean it's frozen?
It's
not even hot outside.
I know. We'll see. Anyways.
We might need more Freon in it.
Yeah.
We had to put Freon in it last year.
Life on the Acreage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I have some tight ends to talk about.
Is mine one of the? Oh, never mind. Just go on.
But your tight end guy, Kyle Pitts, is one of them. He's not at OTAs. No, let's just get rid of that. I can't go through another year of that with you. I just can't. I can't handle it. And who's right? Who's been right every year?
So far, you have.
Exactly.
But
so can we just put it to bed? Like, can we just put it to bed?
We cannot.
But Kyle Pitts was not at the OTAs. There's rumors on the Falcons that they're talking maybe some trade calls for him.
Yeah.
He is in his last year of his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And I say good riddance to him.
It will be interesting to see what happens there.
The other tight end I wanted to bring up was Jonnu Smith. The Steelers and Dolphins are having trade discussions here, which is interesting for multiple reasons. First, I mean, the Steelers have tight ends in depth through, but I mean, Smith would automatically become one of their better receiving options, sure. I think. Though Freiermuth is a really good tight end.
Agreed.
Isn't he? I think I do this every year. Yes. For whatever reason, I think that Freiermuth is really old.
He's not.
And he's not.
He's not. You did this last year. You're like, he's so old. And I think he was 26, 25, 26. Yeah.
So he's not. But anyway, their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, he is their offensive coordinator, and we know. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have had a day, but we know that, like, he's kind of like a tight end collector.
He is.
I'm trying to say this without what I was gonna say was not gonna sound very PC.
He collects the tight ends. What were you gonna say?
We're just not gonna go there. I was like, whoa, stop. I have so many thoughts going through my head right now, and I'm trying to keep words from coming out that shouldn't come out. But anyway, he's had some success. He had success with Jonnu Smith at the Falcons.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm. And then I also think that this is interesting because Smith was such a solid player for the Dolphins last year.
Yeah.
He is a little older.
He is.
Not Freiermuth, but Jonnu Smith. And trading him feels like they are like admitting to maybe resetting or starting a rebuild. And with Tua as quarterback, I mean, we don't know how many more years he has healthy.
Yeah.
Or how much longer he will be their starter.
Right. I agree. It's interesting to me, Arthur Smith, who came from the Falcons and mishandled Kyle Pitts, not trying to trade for him, trying to trade for Jonnu Smith. So maybe that's telling on Mr. Pitts. Nick Fortune putting a bunch of emojis in the
thank
chat.
you.
He loves him, it looks like, from the emojis.
Thank you for those puke faces for Kyle Pitts. I'm going to say it because you won't.
I was going to make people go to YouTube if they're listening to check out what Nick put on there, but you buried the lead once again.
I have to. You have this like obsession with him, and it bothers me. And you're wrong, so it bothers me even more.
He's just so talented. It hasn't worked out. Speaking
No.
of OTAs, Kirk Cousins, just a quick update. Still looking for a trade. Still not at OTAs. Something to keep an eye on. And you know, I don't know. We're going to talk about some teams that need quarterback help today. Maybe one of them wants to trade for him. I think only one could probably use him now that the Steelers do have Rodgers. But anyways,
right.
Yeah.
I also want to bring up James Cook because he is also not at OTAs and he's looking for an extension or a new contract as he's entering his final year of his rookie deal.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't think the Bills are going to give him what he wants.
Yeah.
And I think a question is like, should they? Maybe.
I mean, he's a good running back, but I don't know. I'm so torn. There's guys like Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry that are these elite freaks, right? But otherwise, running back is kind of a dime a dozen, right? And when you have Josh Allen, it seems like he's making everybody better.
And like they might look to like develop one of the guys that they drafted over even the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Or, they could still grab somebody in the free agency.
Sure. Yeah. They could.
Hold a moment.
Oh, well, while you're holding a moment, our AC,
we don't want a full restart.
No, we didn't. Our AC did kick on. So we're out of the clear there, I guess.
I can't focus on that. I've got way too many things going through my head right now anyway.
That's fair. Let's finish these up real quick on NFL news before we talk about the quarterback battles. Eagles and 49ers had a trade. Edge rusher Bryce Huff was traded from the Eagles to the 49ers. Now, he was not showing up to the Eagles OTAs. He was a little unhappy, and the Eagles did what the Eagles do. They said, okay, let's move on from him. They shipped him out to the 49ers. I believe it was for a 5th round. And this is one of those rare situations where I think it was a smart move by both teams. I don't think the Eagles were going to get what they wanted out of Huff. I do believe they have a lot of depth on the defensive line, so it's not a huge blow. And the 49ers needed edge rush help, and Bryce Huff played well in Robert Saleh's system on the Jets, and Saleh is now back with the 49ers as a defensive coordinator, so now they reunite, and he thrives in that scheme. He just didn't work in the Eagles one, I guess.
Yeah, I have one more update. This is just kind of to circle back. Last week we talked about like the Stephon Diggs drama. And I mean, we posted some shorts and we were informed on those shorts.
We got schooled on
drugs. Because we're clearly like we're not educated. I didn't even know if I said whatever the pink stuff was correctly. I don't even remember what it was. Start with a T.
Tusi. Tusi,
Tusi?
Which apparently is like a slang for 2CBC or something. Is what?
What is that?
It's a mixture of like cocaine or Molly or something like that.
BC.
This is what I was informed.
Okay, but we were informed of that it was some sort of coke / Molly, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, it really just seems like that's just getting like blown over. Diggs is at practice. Coaches are liking how he's looking. You know, it's gone. Old news. Apparently, it doesn't matter if he's passing out pink substances on his boat.
Yeah, they don't give a shit, apparently. We're going to be talking about, the quarterback battles and OTAs, which we already said, the Saints, Giants, Browns, Colts, and we'll update you on the Steelers now that there is a change today. But before we do, I got to let you know that we're brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are improved. No usage fees, no minimums, earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Just sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code SGPN. And if you sign up this week, you'll get a free Refs Are Terrorists t-shirt. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/refs to claim your free t-shirt because we all know that the refs are absolutely terrorists.
We're also brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is going long for the NBA Finals with their extender bonus. Hop in on game 1, and the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. Plus, now is a perfect time to get in on your NFL best ball drafts. Don't forget to follow our socials for UFL and CFL picks. In the meantime, go sign up with promo code OFFSGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus credits. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code OFFSGPN.
Bonus alert. We're also brought to you by Naira Bets. Bet the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga with Naira Bets. Sign up today using promo code SGPN25 and get a $25 free bet plus a $200 deposit match bonus. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just getting started, Naira Bets makes it easy to jump into the action. This exclusive offer is only for the Belmont Stakes, so don't wait. Join now and claim your free $25 Belmont bet today at nairabets.com/SGPN25. Did I throw you? Sorry.
A little bit.
Sorry.
I mean, that ad read has all kinds of bonuses and extenders. And
I know. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you, so I waited to the end and everything. Let's start a quarterback battle with the Saints, who lost Derek Carr this offseason. He obviously just a month ago retired, announced his retirement due to a shoulder injury. He did not injure his soldier, just his shoulder. Though there's been some speculation that he was actually going to pull like a just kidding and try to get on a different team.
I feel like I have learned that bit of like news media always comes out. When somebody retires.
That's
like,
fair.
Maybe they might not.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who was it? I can't even think of who it was. Tom Brady.
Yeah.
There was so much going on around that.
Phillip Rivers, I feel like there was talk when he retired. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like, like the Saints could always try and trade for a veteran like Kirk Cousins. However, for now, they have returning quarterbacks Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. Their second round draft pick rookie Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, not exactly getting you excited on talent there. Jake Haener is actually currently injured, so he's already not going to be ready until training camp. And for a guy that already got beat by Spencer Rattler once, I don't think there's much shot of him playing. So let's rule him out in the discussion and just talk about the other two, because I don't think he's going to start week 1 nor play any of these games unless it's very dire.
So then that really just brings us to Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck. Spencer Rattler got the first reps with the starters in the OTAs so far.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, it's just the OTAs. However, his experience on the team and OChem.
Oh, bringing out the old OChem.
Bring out OChem with the guy is, I feel like that could give him a slight leg up.
Yeah. Last
year, he threw for 1,317 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 5 interceptions. He finished with a 70.4 passer rating for the year. What are you saying? More
interceptions than touchdowns. Normally not good.
Not good, but I have to bring the stats for you.
All right.
He still might have a leg up here.
Yeah, right.
I think it's important to note that he won 0 games as a starter.
Yeah.
The Saints finished 0-6 in games that Rattler started.
Yeah. Which is not a great look, but, he was a rookie, so we'll cut him some slack, I guess. He's been through a lot of adversity in college, so this is a guy that he could, push to get the start week 1. He could ball out. I'm not saying he is going to, but he could. His competition, Tyler Shuck, a rookie they drafted in the second round out of Louisville. Ironically, even though he's a rookie, he's 2 years older than Spencer Rattler. That was something that was made about him, like a deal that was made about like, this guy's old. He's not this young rookie. He's 26 years old, which is old for a rookie. I mean, you got some guys ending their rookie deal right now, and they're just turning 26. So that's interesting. In the OTAs, because, in early June, this tells us everything. It doesn't. That's sarcasm. But he was.
You should base your entire season out of
absolutely
what you're seeing right now.
Your bets, your fantasy football drafts, base it all on right now, because this is what matters. He did work with the second team offense in OTA so far, but he's reportedly been throwing some really nice passes, including a deep pass down to a guy that you like in fantasy football, Rashid Shaheed, and that's had some of the media buzzing. Again, it's June 5th.
I have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, there were some. Yeah, he blew up some games and then kind of became a dud. But
so I just wanted to correct you there. I was like,
fair enough.
We don't need to say that. So
another thing about OTAs is there's no like pressure from the defense. You can't rush the quarterback.
Right.
So,
no pressure for the QB.
So you got to take these nice throws for what it's worth, because how many times have we hyped somebody up because they had a nice throw on June 2nd or something?
So I've got to bring you some stats on Shuck, because last year he threw for 3,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. So already his stats are looking better. But he only had a 62.7% completion percentage, although most scouts thought he would need to like maybe sit a year before starting.
Do some developing. Shout out to the chat. Jamie Perogue checking in. Hey, sexy ladies. I'm on a live episode.
Hello.
I think that means he has his own live going, unless he means that he's checking into ours. I made a mistake this morning.
Okay.
I had our original time that we're going to go today was 6:45. Work was obviously really crazy for you.
I know it. Where are you going here?
I had it scheduled
6:45 a.m.
Yeah, and I got a message at 6:18 our time. It did not wake me up. Don't worry. I didn't get up till like 6:30 or something. But I had a message from Jamie that said,
wouldn't that suck though? You getting up at 6:30, 12 minutes before the alarm goes off.
Oh, right. And Jamie would no longer be one of my favorites. No, I'm just kidding. But he said, I think you maybe scheduled us for the morning, unless you are going for the morning. We got an early morning stream going on. No, we did not. Anyways, back to the Saints. One thing I am certain of, I trust head coach Kellen Moore. If you've listened to me before, you know I'm a big Boise State Bronco fan, and he was there in their glory days. I think he's a really smart football-minded coach, getting his first opportunity as a head coach, and I think he's going to make the most of it, despite the fact that this quarterback situation is not ideal.
Right. Okay. So, given all of that,
yes,
I want you to break down the odds for starting and who you like to start week 1, as well as who's going to start like the most games this season.
Yeah. So, in all of these, because we're going to do this for every team, we're not considering anybody getting injured by freak injury in training camp or something. This is if everybody's healthy. Right now, the odds are Shuck minus 295. So he is the favorite to start week 1. Rattler 2-1, and then Jake Haener 25-1. We've already ruled him out. So like you said earlier, it's between Shuck and Rattler. I don't think anybody is paying minus 295 on Shuck when this is really up in the air. These odds will obviously change as we have more OTAs and more training camp battles. Yes, Spencer Rattler is taking those first team reps. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't. However, I think he will be their week 1 starter. I know it's a new system, but he's got the chemistry, the OChem, as you said. Yeah.
Maybe bad OChem, but he has it.
He's got it with the team. He is, even though he's younger and only a year into the NFL career, he is the quote unquote veteran of that room. And so I think he's going to start maybe the first quarter of the season at 2-1. I think you should bet that. And then we already circled that Giants matchup where we think both these teams will be winless. That's when they turn the reins over to Tyler Shuck. He comes in, gets them their first win. So Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler 2-1 to make week 1 start. But fantasy football wise, I think Tyler Shuck will start more games, though, unless it's dynasty.
I don't like this team for fantasy football.
No, I would stay away. Even guys like, Olave, he's got to catch passes from one of these guys. That's scary. And then Kamara, if you have these guys as quarterbacks, they have not proved to be a real threat yet, though Shuck is just a rookie, so I don't mean that offense to him. But everybody's going to key up on the run, aren't they?
I would. Yeah. That's what I would think.
That's what you would do as a defender or a defensive coach? Yeah. Okay. Both. You're going to be playing both.
Both. Well, yes. Yes.
The answer is yes. Let's talk about another team here.
Giants.
The Giants.
Let's throw them out.
Let's do it.
So this next quarterback battle, I'm going to start with the guy who has opened the OTAs as the starter and working with the starters, and that's Russell Wilson, who is just news alert if you didn't know. He's now with the Giants.
Yes.
This is his 3rd team in 3 years, going from the Broncos to the Steelers and now the Giants. He was quoted saying when making his decision, he watched all the game tapes and the Giants stood out because of Malik Neighbors.
Well,
so
makes sense.
If Wilson is the starter all year, just from reading that, seeing that, what stood out to me is I think that could mean good things for Malik Neighbors for fantasy.
Yeah.
Because, I'm always looking for the value.
Yeah.
Looking for something there, but.
Absolutely. And looking at OTAs, like you said, he started as the QB1. Did not look great. I got a little nugget from my dad, who I guess now that he's retired gets some more time to pay attention to these OTA reports.
What was the nugget?
But the nugget was So there were 3 straight incompletions on his first 7-on-7 drill, and then he ran the ball on 4th down. He scrambled. Now, Miranda, we already talked. There's no defensive pressure. Why are you scrambling? What? There's no defensive pressure.
Maybe he's frazzled too. Okay.
Maybe.
He's feeling pressure that's not there.
Just doesn't make any sense. Maybe he wanted to prove he could still run.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe he was being flashy. Was it on media day?
Yeah, the media was there, in which right now I believe they're only there once every week.
Yeah, they're not there all the time. So maybe he was trying to look flashy for the media. Is that a possibility?
Well, from what I understand, it made him look dumb.
Okay, and I also just realized what I asked if your dad saw it. Of course, the media was there.
Right.
I'm such an idiot.
It's all good. It's all good. So Wilson was injured at the beginning of last year, but once healthy, he made his start for the Steelers, threw for 2,482 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's hard to argue that the Steelers roster was more talented than the one the Giants have now, which, I mean, I just think he's in line to start. I think he was probably told he's going to start. I don't know.
Yeah. There's, Jameis Winston, who is at one time, he led the league in passing, and he got the QB2 reps with the second team. Unfortunately, he started OTA practice with an interception.
Classic Jameis.
Which is because he also has led the league in interceptions.
Yeah.
You don't get a good performance out of him unless you're also getting high interceptions.
This is true.
They go hand in hand with this guy.
Agreed. He's a gunslinger. He really feels like maybe they brought him in to be more of a locker room guy. I know he's getting QB2 right now. They'll likely only keep 3 quarterbacks, and it's going to come down to him or Tommy DeVito that sticks. Tommy DeVito. I do have a feeling it's going to be Winston, though, because of that presence. And from everything I've read, teammates love this guy. They just love him.
They do. Jackson Dart was next in line and reportedly struggled at first, but ended up making some really nice throws. The rookie was drafted by the Giants this year after they traded up to take him in the first round. Last year at Ole Miss, he threw for 4,279 yards. He had 29 passing touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He also ran for 495 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so he can run the ball. A lot to be made by people thinking he's also a hunk.
Right.
I don't know if you've checked him out. If you think he's a hunk.
I have no idea what he looks like. I will look after. No, I have not. But I will look after the show.
Yeah, you got to see the hunk. Maybe your new quarterback boyfriend.
No.
Jimmy G's old news. You're back with your
Jimmy G is
Jackson
so
D.
old news.
The
photo of Jimmy G is still in my bedroom in my parents'
You're
house
smoking J Dart like Dart cigarettes.
I didn't even print out all those Jimmy G photos that are just. I didn't even print those out. That was not even my doing.
Sure.
You did it, or you had my mom print it out.
I did not. Anyways,
he was showing up everywhere. Anyway, I think a lot of the scouts were high on Dart, but thought he may again need a year to sit. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the approach that the Giants stick to.
Yeah.
And then finally, 4th in line was Tommy DeVito. Who threw 1 pass in the media portion of the 7-on-7 drills. And then that was completed for a touchdown.
Tommy DeVito.
Yes.
The touchdown king, apparently.
Yeah. So all this with the Giants, Justin, what are the odds on who starts week 1? And, are you betting on them?
I am not. And I'll tell you why. Russell Wilson is the favorite at -800. It's way juiced. If you don't bet, that means you'd have to bet $8 just to win 1. So that's not even worth it because I think as long as he's not injured, he is the QB1 to start the season. I don't know if he'll be the starter the whole season. I mean, shout out to Russell Wilson. He has had a nice career. And he does play well, minus his stint with the Broncos where Sean Payton seemingly hated him. But he has done fairly well. I mean, he was great with the Seahawks, right? And but you're in a division with the Eagles, the Commanders, even the Cowboys, who should be better than last year. Does that mean the Giants won't be competitive this year? Which you already know. I said I think they'll be the last team to win a game. So no, I don't think they will. So while Wilson gets the start, does it make sense to keep him there when you can?
I think they're bringing him in, and like he's gonna get benched. It's just a matter of when they're ready to bench him for one of these other guys.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. They do have a week 14 bye. Sometimes teams wait till that bye week to make a change, but that seems really
that's
late.
way late in the season. No.
You think
you wouldn't finish out your season
with just the last 4 games?
I don't know, unless it's going horribly wrong and they waited that long for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. I do think Dart will show up around mid-season. Yeah. That's just the feeling I'm getting. Our buddy CJ Sullivan is currently at the Circa Sportsbook, and Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas is giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience for a 12-person league to draft in Vegas and be treated like VIPs for their stay. You're getting a limo ride from the airport, a $5,000 tab for stadium swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. You can always get 15% off at all the Circa properties with promo code SGP15, by the way. So make sure you book a stay there, even if you don't win. But enter the Ultimate Fantasy Football Contest for free at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CIRCA. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. You've heard us talk about Rhythm before, and they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. These are AI-detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won and has a high return of interest. Think like a strikeout prop that wins 59% of the time, and when the line and win probably hit a certain range. Power Trends are updated daily and exclusive to Rhythm. No touts, no noise, just clean data-backed bets. Download the Rhythm app, check out the Power Trends, and start betting smarter. We will be. Get your 7-day free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. I don't sing it as well as CJ Sullivan does, but MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including the NBA Finals for the true degens. The MyBookie money bag, which is where you just spin the wheel and it gives you a random future. I feel like should do a little bonus episode where we just spin the wheel for $5 futures, and then I make a case of why they're going to hit. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. You can easy deposit and lightning fast payouts using your Dogecoin. Head over to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN, and for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That's mybookie.com, mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. It is not .com. It is not.
No, it is not.
Yes. Mr. Havana Raul, I believe, Browns have agreed to retire Sanders' number after he fails to make the practice squad. I like that. Obviously, he after exiting Colorado, they retired his number, and then he fell to the 5th round. So that was interesting. And Nick Fortune saying for the Giants, keep Winston over Tommy DeVito. I get it. Winston is a really good locker room guy. I like Winston, and it seems like all the players do.
Speaking of the Browns, we're going to talk about the Browns next. And I think that this one might be, the most interesting quarterback battle. Not necessarily in a good way for the team, but interesting in wanting to see how this plays out. So the Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, gave him a giant contract, and since then he's had nothing but like injuries, legal issues, shitty quarterback play.
Accurate.
I don't think he takes another snap for this team.
I agree with you.
I mean, I would be surprised.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Okay.
I have to. This is not related to the Browns, but you got to check out the CFL Gambling Podcast, because I gave out Dustin Crum first touchdown in this Ottawa Redblacks game.
You're
first game of the
watching
season.
Football over there.
I do have it on a side screen. It's not God's eye like the guys have while they're watching while doing a pod, but he just scored the first touchdown. I think I gave that out at 23-1. Let's fucking go. Anyways, let's talk about the Browns.
You conveniently, when you did that, you tilted your phone a little bit. You're watching football while we're live.
Also, the beginning of this episode, I did say take the Red Blacks plus 150. They're up 7-0.
And you're ignoring what I'm. Fine, Justin. Fine.
This is what a true degen looks like. They podcast about the NFL while watching the CFL.
Have you been doing this whole time?
No, the game didn't start that long ago.
Okay. Well, but as soon as it started.
Anyways, let's go on to the Browns.
Okay.
You have no words.
So I'm out on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I want us to take a look at who may snap the ball for them. starting with Joe Flacco. I
Joe
love this
fucking
guy.
Flacco.
He makes things happen. They brought the veteran back after he spent a year with the Colts last year. And for the Colts, he threw over 1,700 yards. It was 1,761, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He started some games for the Browns in 2023, and he threw for 1,616 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I think with Joe Flacco, the Browns know what they're getting.
Yeah.
You know, they know like he's a veteran. He can play ball. Despite that he's 40 years old.
He is who they think he is.
He is.
Yeah. By the way, there was a little clip that went viral that I wanted to play for you and get kind of, I guess, your thoughts on it.
Okay.
But and real quick, Jamie saying Massage Watson sucks shit.
Yes.
And Nick Fortune saying what a cluster crap this Browns quarterback room is. See, just like Matt Eberflus, Nick Fortune does not curse. Take a look at this video, and I just want to get your feedback because I don't think you've seen it yet.
I have no idea what you're going to show me,
Okay,
so
well,
I can't confirm.
They asked him, why do you think the media makes such a big deal or ask questions about an older quarterback like him being a mentor?
Oh, I've seen some stuff about the mentor.
All right, well, here's the clip that we're talking about.
Okay, I might know what this is.
Come over to YouTube so you can watch this clip of Joe Flacco. Just
it's a talking
like
point. You can kind of like use it like because it's a good question to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer it, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times there's been a ton of times where there's learning experiences. And I have a lot of experience and I can talk on things. And hopefully they listen. But it's not necessarily like my job to like make sure they listen to me. And you know, hey, like hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room, and you naturally want to do that, you know. But that was a long-winded answer, but that's ultimately why I think you guys ask it.
Thoughts? Do you agree with his stance?
I do.
Yeah.
He's not there to
babysit
or manage up his replacement.
Very worded of you.
Like he's there to compete. He wants to play. He wants that starting job.
Yeah.
He's not, but I like what he said. Like he does have a lot of experience. So if situations come up, he's not going to not share experience, but he is not there to be a mentor. He does not have a contract to mentor replacement quarterbacks for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
So,
real quick, Jamie checking in saying Browns suck. Why are we talking about the Browns? Flacco can win 2 games for the Browns. Without him, we would go 0-17. Without him, I forgot Jamie was a Browns fan. Sorry, Jamie. And then pointing out that Anthony Servino did pass away, a great podcast personality in the fantasy football community. So rest in peace and well wishes to his family. All right, not to turn this into a down note, but we are talking about the Browns, which are kind of a down note. So let's keep talking about the Browns quarterbacks.
Okay. So back to Flacco.
Yeah.
He is getting the first team reps in the OTAs. However, he's sharing them with this guy.
Here's a guy.
And that is Kenny Pickett.
Small hands Pickett. He
was drafted by the Steelers and started for several years. Just was never able to have much success.
Yeah.
And then he was with the Eagles. The Browns traded their quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Sorry, it's a mouthful. And I wanted to make sure, like, I don't want to pull a Marvinson Jr. on you. And they also gave up, it was a 5th rounder.
Yeah.
To the Eagles for Pickett. So they have some capital wrapped up in him. And maybe this fresh start is, maybe what he needed. There were some clips of him throwing a nice touchdown to Jerry Jeudy. However, like you told me earlier and reminded me, it's June 5th.
Yeah.
And this is just the OTAs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamie in the chat, no need to be sorry. It's a nice tribute. The Browns, of course, they have 2 rookies. They drafted 2, Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, Shedeur Sanders in the 5th, Gabriel out of Oregon. We all know where Shedeur is. I don't know if maybe you have not heard of this guy. Maybe people listening have not heard of this guy. I don't think there's been a lot in the media about him. I hope you are picking up my sarcasm. It's unheard of, or it's not unheard of, I guess, but it's unusual for teams to draft 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. That's a bit unusual, but they did. And these guys are currently competing for a backup spot.
Yeah. Circling back to the chat, please don't be sorry.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No. Okay. So we've talked about our guys.
Yeah.
Who do you think wins the starting job? Who do you think starts the most games for the Browns?
All right, you ready for a hot take?
Give me your hot take.
I got a hot take.
Okay.
This team's here's why I'm basing this on. This is a really interesting team because they have 4, technically 5 if you count Watson, even though I think he'll start on IR or whatever. But they have 4, and I do think they should cut Watson. But you don't take 4 quarterbacks on your 53-man roster. You just don't. Teams don't do that.
This is not fantasy football in some of our leagues.
That's right.
Non-dynasty.
Yeah. So if you look at these guys and you look at these 4, you have the least amount invested in terms of price and draft capital and everything in Flacco. Kenny Pickett, you traded the player in the pick. Dylan, Gabriel, and Shedeur, you just used draft picks on. And if you cut either of those 3, I guarantee somebody is going to claim them. So even though Flacco gives you the best chance to win, Browns, I think that he's going to get cut. I mean, why keep Joe Flacco when you're in a division that you're not going to have success in this year? You know, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. I think the smart football move is to cut Joe Flacco. He's the least likely to get picked up by a team, and put him on your practice squad because you can have one veteran on your practice squad. And by the way, it's funny seeing them at practice because Flacco's 6'6", Pickett is 6'3", I believe Shedeur is 6'1", and Dylan Gabriel's 5'11". So Flacco is the tall guy. And then, zoom. I think if they make the smart move, they're cutting Joe Flacco, who's leading the way at plus 125 to start. And I think that means you go with the other veteran in the room, Kenny Pickett. I think he ends up being their week 1 starter. That's plus 220. And both these rookies sit to start with midway through the season. Do they try one of the rookies? Yeah, I think so. Which one? It's hard to say at this point. It's hard not to think it's going to be Sanders because of all the media buzz and attention. But they obviously thought Gabriel was better. They drafted him first.
Unless they knew something, we didn't know what was going on for Shedeur to drop.
Right. Yeah. Maybe let's draft him later so we don't have to pay him as much because, he's going to flash that around. This is a gross, messy situation. I don't think there is a right answer. I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of money on it, but if you did, go with Pickett because I think my hot take is he will be starting for the quarterback or for the Browns at quarterback in week 1.
Poor Joe Flacco.
Poor Joe fucking Flacco.
I like Joe Flacco.
I do too. I mean, and if you watch that clip, he seems like a Midwest guy, doesn't he? He's just very down to earth and just like, hey, this is how it is. And he's
not Iowa nice though.
No, but
Midwest.
Yeah,
I could see Midwest. Yeah. There's a difference between Midwest and Iowa Midwest.
There is. I agree with that.
Okay. There just is. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. Anyway, let's just move on. Let's talk about the Steelers.
Hang on real quick. I don't want to miss the opportunity to move my clicker that you
hate. I don't hate the clicker. Don't say that. There's so much love for that stupid clicker. I don't want to be the bad guy.
I'm a bad guy. Anyways, go on. Thanks for getting Billie Eilish stuck in my head.
I had no idea what you were saying.
No. All right, well, continue.
Okay, I was like, this is new. Steelers.
He's from New Jersey, by the way. I was looking up where Flacco's from, not the Midwest.
Yeah, so
Anyways.
We have to start talking about the Steelers and we have to start talking about the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, breaking news today.
It is. Well, and maybe something I don't know because what I saw today is that he said that he was going to fly to Pittsburgh and within a week or so and sign a contract.
This Friday, he's flying tomorrow and he will be participating in minicamp next week.
Okay, so
he's
that's
officially
different than what
signing.
I saw earlier today. Did that
Yeah.
happen more breaking?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Or
but
maybe what I read. I guess I don't know my source. I saw something on Twitter and I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. So we drug this drama out in typical Aaron Rodgers fashion.
yeah.
But yeah, I saw it earlier.
Yes, he will start for them. This is a great
Mhm.
example of going with your gut and placing a bet. Because leading up to this, he was plus 175 to be the week 1 starter, and as long as he doesn't snap a leg in training camp, he will be the starter.
Well, yeah, because
I'm
they
sure.
don't get Aaron Rodgers and not start him. And his
Right.
ego does not allow for him to be QB2.
Correct.
So unless he gets injured within 45 seconds of the first game and he has to be on IR.
45 seconds is a long time to a college kid.
Oh my God. All right. Well, let's talk about not Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph,
Please. Yeah.
who is making his return to the Steelers after sitting with the Titans.
Yeah, he was with the Titans
Yeah.
for a cup of coffee.
For just a cup.
Mhm.
One cup.
Cup of coffee.
He's likely going to be the QB2 to start the season. With the Titans last year, he did have some starts and finished with over 1,500 passing yards. He had 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Just got to match the touchdowns there.
Yeah.
Despite that ratio, he actually looked decent.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. He
Mhm.
did. I was impressed.
Yes. And the prior year for the Steelers, he threw for 719 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So we have seen him succeed and put up numbers for the Steelers.
Yeah, when he's not getting his head caved in by his own helmet with Myles Garrett. I don't know if everybody remembers that clip where Garrett had his helmet and swung it and hit him right in the head.
Yeah. So the Steelers also have Skylar Thompson, who
Mhm.
made a couple starts for the Dolphins. But with the Rodgers signing, I think it's safe to say he's likely getting cut.
Yeah, I think
They
so.
drafted Will Howard in this year's draft. So do they have a need for Skylar Thompson?
No, and I like Will Howard. If you're in dynasty drafts with me, I like him because I've
Mhm.
been drafting him. I believe in him. I know it wasn't until the 6th round, but I think this guy is going to be good. He's a big quarterback. He can move around. John Gruden actually compared him to Josh Allen. I like Will Howard.
All right. He played for last year at Ohio State, not
I was
Iowa
gonna say,
State.
wait a
Ohio State. Let's get this
Trying to
correct.
give old Rocky Morocco Beck's job away.
I know. But he transferred from Kansas State. He threw for 4,010 yards, 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He also ran for 7 touchdowns. A former GM recently said on a podcast that he thinks that they should build around Howard and the mobility that he has.
I agree. Like we said, Rodgers is starting though. I'm curious to see how long. I know I'm a hater because I'm.
Well,
a
isn't it
Bears
just
fan.
a 1 year? He's signing a
It's-
1 year.
This is likely, I think, his last ride.
Then he can finally retire and we can stop talking about it.
I hope so. I don't think his body can handle a full season anymore. He's going to be injured or underperform because I do think he's washed. You can call me an idiot. You can call me a hater, but he's washed. I think he has less talent as well around him on the Steelers team than they did on the Jets, and he struggled there. So it really comes down to, can he prove me wrong, or is he going to end up riding the pine so they can see what they have
and he
in Howard?
has no one, correct me if I'm wrong, he has no one on this team that he has Oakham with, like former.
That is correct.
And that is something like when he went to the Jets, he brought the Packers with him or old Packers with him. Like and to me, it's like he has to have somebody he can trust. He does not get along with people well.
Right.
And he doesn't have any, he doesn't have a past with any of these guys.
Yeah, agreed. And
so I'm interested in that like aspect, like how that's going to work for him.
And I would say that we, as in the Bears, will see you week 12, A-Rod. But by then, you're going to be lost in a forest or listening to dolphin sex sounds while healing from an injury. I loved this tweet from Adam Schefter. We're bringing up on the screen if you're looking at YouTube. Said, Steelers and Aaron Rodgers need each other. The Steelers have lost 6 straight playoff games, their longest postseason losing streak in team history, and Rodgers hasn't won a playoff game since the 2020 divisional playoff round, a 32-18 win against the Rams on January 16, 2021, 1,601 days ago. So this team can't win a playoff game, and neither can this quarterback, so they need each other. What? Does that make any sense?
No, I thought Adam Schefter didn't like Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he doesn't.
I thought he always talks smack about him.
Well, it's because he told him to lose his number. Rodgers did. I don't think he dislikes him, but anyways, I just thought that was funny. It's like, what? They don't need each other. Trust me. They that's the opposite of needing each other.
All right. Last quarterback competition to discuss here is the Colts. And this
My
one,
favorite, I think.
okay, I was going to say this one's polarizing
My favorite.
because their returning starter, Anthony Richardson, has all the talent in the world, but he hasn't been able to take that talent and turn it into successful seasons. Plus, he seems to be injury prone. He's
17. He's played 17 games in 30 out of 34. with the team.
yes,
Yeah.
not a good record there for injury history. He is a dual threat quarterback with a big arm.
Yeah.
It just hasn't translated to the field in the NFL the way we expected it to.
Which, not to pat myself on the back, because he did look really good on his first starts, but then he got injured. But I said that this guy wasn't necessarily going to translate to the NFL like people had hoped. He needed time to sit, and they did not give him that.
You might have been right about him. You were wrong about Kyle Pitts.
Fair.
Yes. So anyway, he is the favorite to start week 1, but we had some news break today.
More important than the Rodgers news, in my opinion.
This is that Richardson is dealing with another injury. It's his shoulder. I almost said
Yeah.
soldier like
I
you.
know,
Like
right?
get out of here, Justin.
Surprise, he's injured again.
I know, and he's not going to participate in the mini camp next week. In fact, they aren't sure when he's going to return and be able to play. There is no timetable. And while there's hopes that it'll be by training camp, it's not guaranteed.
Right. Real quick, Raul saying Miles Juicy Smollett Garrett will be asking for a trade by week 3. Yeah, right. He'll be like, wait a minute, Kenny Pickett's starting for us. We have no plan and no success. Get me out of here. The Anthony Richardson injury is a blessing to the believers in this guy, which you know I am. It opens the door for him to get the first reps at OTAs, and that is Dan motherfucking Jones.
Glad you didn't say Daniel, because if he's
It's
going to do
Dan the
well,
man.
he's Dan.
That's right. Danny Dimes, if you will.
Okay.
Yes, I know he gets a bad rep. I get it. But let's remember 2022 when he threw for 3,200 yards. He had 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but also ran for 700 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. He's like a 6'7" weird looking guy that people go, well, he can't move around. He can absolutely move around. And I don't know if it's all his fault with how it played out on the Giants. You're talking about a team that let Saquon Barkley walk. They said, meh. He's not going to have many years left. We don't need him. And look at what he did. I think he fits this offense well. I think he's itching to prove himself. And I think he's the week 1 starter, which is plus 190. Go bet that now. Because I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to just win this job outright, despite Richardson having the injury. I do think when healthy, they'll have packages for Anthony Richardson. I do think that he's going to come into games and they'll have some stuff for him. But I think Daniel Jones starts the majority of the games, and they're better off for it. We're not even going to talk really about Notre Dame.
I was going to say we're talking. We're not talking, but you're missing the rookie.
Yeah, Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. He's there to develop. I don't think he's starting unless they face multiple injuries. I mean, you would have to have Richardson and Jones get hurt for Riley Leonard to get in there. Riley Leonard, not a terrible quarterback, but absolutely a project, a very big project.
Agreed. Whew, that concludes the quarterback mess for these teams.
The Colts are absolutely my favorite one there. So yeah, I mean, let us know who you think's going to be starting for those teams. And in the meantime, Mer, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking Blanton's. Hold on one moment.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, I can't get this off the screen. But yeah, we just showed the bottle of Blanton's there. So we're drinking Blanton's. We did recently talk a little bit about Blanton's when we reviewed the Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to go through a little bit of facts for you guys. It's a single barrel bourbon.
real quick, I encourage everybody to stick around, but if you do drop because you're just football and you don't care about whiskey, I get it. Everybody has their like. So thank you for tuning in, by the way. Appreciate you
Yes,
guys.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to throw that in there. Little
no.
appreciation.
What did I just say about this? Single barrel. Barrel. So it's a single barrel bourbon. And this started with Blanton's in 1984. Prior to that, the single barrel bourbon hadn't been done.
Yeah.
It was a new thing
Crazy to
for
think
whiskey. Yeah. The master distiller at the time was Elmer T. Lee, and he was tasked with creating.
Thank you for not saying Elmer Fudd.
Because I did that before, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
So Elmer Lee was tasked with creating a bourbon of high quality, and he thought back to like the early days of his career. This was back in the late 40s when he worked under Colonel Albert B. Blanton, who was president of the distillery up until 1952.
Mm-hmm.
And Colonel Blanton would, he would entertain important guests with handpicked barrels from the center of Warehouse H and have the bourbon bottled one barrel at a time, which is where the name Blanton Single Barrel came from, and Elmer T. Lee's tribute to Colonel Blanton. This was
Sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this was then introduced, a year before Elmer T. Lee retired, and in doing so, this like revolutionized the industry by creating this super premium category that wasn't there before. The idea was considered radical at the time. However, as most of you know, it's a very popular thing to do now.
Yeah. It's just crazy, isn't it? To think that there was not single barrel bourbons before this.
We've had this bottle of Blanton's for 4 years, I think.
I believe so.
Yes. And
if you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding it up to the screen. I'm sure you've seen a bottle of Blanton's, but it's a very unique bottle.
It stands out.
Yes.
It's a very popular, it's a popular collector, bourbon, I guess, because the horses, it has a stopper, the horse. And this one, what letter is this one? Is this an N?
This is an N. It doesn't want to focus on the screen, but yeah.
There, different toppers for each letter of the word Blanton's, and each horse is in a different position of racing.
Yes. And yeah, speaking of Naira Bets, SGPN 25 for the horse races. The whole collector idea, people collect the whole name.
You want to get all the letters. I've heard of that. We're not.
And that set is worth quite a bit of money, I guess. You can buy the set for $1,000 or something.
More than that. It's more than that.
If this bottle did not look like this and this was not a collector item, this would not be a $100+ bottle of whiskey.
No. And I was going to talk about what it retails for. I found it 4 years ago in a small town, Winterset, Iowa, liquor store for $65. And I can see paying $65 for Blanton's.
Yeah, to have it.
It has retailed up to $200.
Yeah.
And I would not pay that for Blanton's.
Absolutely not.
No. I did see it recently for $100.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's
down some.
But I don't know if that's standard. I thought, $100, that is lower than what.
Well, there are rumors on the internets, as George W. Bush would say. There are rumors on the internets that this is coming down. I completely forgot something about Aaron Rodgers. I wanted to just point out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to point out. Do you not think he loves this circus that he creates?
Of course he does. That's why he does it. Okay. Back to bourbon.
Real quick, I hate this analogy because if you know me, you know that I'm a kind of a comic book nerd or fans of those movies, and I love the Joker movie, Joker with Heath Ledger. And there's a scene where he says, I'm an agent of chaos. And that's what Aaron Rodgers is. I hate comparing him to the Joker because I love the Joker, but Rodgers is a Joker. He's an agent of chaos. Anyways, back to the bourbon. What do you get on the nose?
So when I first tried this, it couldn't have been. Yeah, it could have been 4, maybe 3 years ago. It was around the time we started our podcast.
Yes.
And so I was newer into my bourbon whiskey phase of life. And I thought that this was really, really good whiskey.
Right.
I'm not saying it's bad, but it is. I think that there are a lot more unique, and for the price point, you can get something.
Well, yeah, and
more.
let's get into that. Let's get into our taste profile.
Mhm.
And
Well, on the
why
nose,
why we do think
it
that maybe it's not
smells
worth
like a good bourbon.
Mhm.
It does. It's got the caramel. You can smell like the corn grain in it.
Yeah,
It smells good.
agreed. Yeah. Yeah, you get your
But
sweet bourbon.
mhm.
Like if you think of all your stereotypical things that people say bourbon smells like, you get this. This is what you get out of it. You get
Mhm.
the corn, you get the grain a little bit, you get the oak smell,
Yep.
the sweetness of like caramel. Or
You
whatever.
really smell. It smells sweet.
Yeah,
It smells sweet.
So-
It doesn't smell like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to compare it to, but it just like Blanton's is. It's hard to say. It's Blanton's. It's just it's a premium. I think it is like a premium bourbon.
Mhm.
I don't feel that it is worth the top shelf price that it retails for.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just do the scoring while we're talking about it because we just did nose. What do you give it
Mhm.
on the nose? I mean, to me, it's hard to give it a great rating. It doesn't suck. It doesn't smell
But
like a Sharpie.
it's consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't smell like a
It doesn't smell
Sharpie.
like a Sharpie. No, it has all the characteristics of bourbon in it. So what do
Yeah.
you want?
I give it as 3, right down the middle.
Right in the middle?
Yeah,
3.5.
3.5. All right.
Because it
'Cause it's
smells
pleasant, I guess.
premium.
Yeah.
You can't say it.
Oh, maybe it smells premium. It smells basic to me.
Basic bourbon, but yes.
I don't mean that in a bad way. It just smells basic.
Basic bitch bourbon.
There
Okay.
you go. This is your basic bitch bourbon.
Okay.
What do you give the bottle? Because I mean,
A 5.
Yeah,
The bottle is, I mean,
I agree with that.
I've wanted a bottle of Blanton's for the bottle.
Right. I agree
And
with
I
the
think
5.
that the bottle itself and like the topper, the collecting all of the different ones is like part of it. It's not just about, I almost feel like that drives the price more
100%.
so than what's inside the bottle.
I 100% agree with that. It
So,
does.
yeah, you don't see another like
If this was in just a standard shaped whiskey bottle with no cool topper,
mhm.
that people would not clamor after it.
No, and like with
wouldn't.
the brass horse racing topper with the like
Pretty sure that's
Yeah.
Ira Betts' horse. I think it is. All right, let's move on to
Okay.
the taste / finish, which I've accused this bourbon of lacking any really character. When we first tried it, we said, "Oh, it's so smooth," and that's why we thought it was good. But sometimes smooth is not good. It packs a little bit of heat.
It has
is a
heat.
single
I'm
barrel.
warm now.
Yeah,
1 sip and I'm warm.
93 proof. Packs a little heat, but what stands out to you besides the best way for me to describe it is it tastes like bourbon.
That's why it's a basic bourbon.
Basic bitch bourbon.
Like I think if
Sorry, Blanton's, but you are now the basic bitch bourbon.
But they're not trying to be like we have tried so many different craft like smaller distilleries, craft specialty distilleries.
Mhm.
We I won't like give away any of the other whiskeys except for one in this taste test. We did our own like blind tasting with Blanton's and some other top shelf whiskeys, and
basically our most expensive ones.
And then we pulled in the
Savage and Cook Bloody Butcher.
Bloody Butcher. I almost said Howling Mob. That's their other heirloom corn.
The Bloody Butcher.
And you just that blew everything out of the water.
Oh yeah,
and it is
in the face
and that is
just
it's not finished in anything. It just is a bourbon
using
made
Bloody
with
Butcher varietal corns, 100 proof, bottled in bond,
and it was phenomenal compared to these other just top shelf bourbons.
You were hesitant to agree when I said, or to believe me when I said, now if we try Bloody Butcher, it'll blow them out of the water, and you said, go get it. And
I wasn't hesitant. I said, go get it. Let's see.
Yeah.
I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I think where you got my hesitation is because we have the Bloody Butcher, and then we also have the Howling Mob, which are the two bourbons that they did with heirloom corn varieties.
Right.
And I liked the Howling Mob more.
Yeah.
However, trying that's in a comparison of those two, but then trying the Bloody Butcher compared to these top shelf bourbons,
Yeah.
it's in a league of its own.
So what score do you give it on for taste/finish?
I am also going to default to 3.5 because it's consistent. It's always consistent.
Yeah.
I've tried Blanton's other places, not just ours. It's consistent. It's made to be consistent.
Yeah.
They do have other kinds we should have probably talked about that.
Oh.
But they have Blanton's has other bottles.
Right. I gave it a
varieties.
I gave it a 3.3. A little better than right down the middle of the line because it's not a bad whiskey by any means. It's just, again, it lacks some character, but it's easy to drink and it's pleasant enough. So that's why I went a little bit higher than 3.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's good bourbon, but there's better.
Yeah.
Especially at the price point.
100%.
If you want to get it for the bottle, just to have a pretty bottle on a shelf, and you think spending $200 for a pretty bottle is where you want to spend your money, I'm not going to judge you, but don't do it for what's in the bottle.
Yeah, I'm going to judge you. Just saying.
I'm not. I'm going to be the non-judger.
I'm going to judge. So we mentioned that we shared a cocktail because this, when you have a premium whiskey, you don't normally put it in a cocktail, but we did because it's part of our scoring system. And unfortunately that does bring its score down in my opinion, because it's not a great old fashioned.
It does not stand out. I think you put too big of a ball of a cube in that thing though.
Is that not the ice cube you've been using? It's the same ice cube you've been using, the ball.
But it watered it down. Look at the color of that old fashioned.
Well,
I also wonder, is our freezer not freezing cold enough for this to
it was very cold. I think we've let it sit here.
Or is it warm in here? It is also warm in here.
Yeah.
But when I first tried it, I don't know. It was just you can't tell you're drinking Blanton's in an old fashioned. So I think it's horrible for a cocktail.
Score?
A 2.
That's what I gave it as well. I have a 2 written down. So
in a cocktail, don't drink it in a cocktail. If you're spending that kind of money on bourbon, don't drink it in a cocktail either.
Yeah, I agree. 3.5 plus 3.5 is 7, 12. So you gave it an overall score of 14 out of 20. I gave it a 13.3 out of 20. I believe that puts it in 3rd or 4th place in the ones we've done this year. So again, not terrible. No. We have done some that are kind of stinkers. So
since we started doing this.
Yeah, I know. We have. Sorry to swear jar Canadian whiskey. Yeah. Buy it for the gimmick, but beyond that, I don't know if we went enough into the flavor profile. You kind of just asked me.
Oh, sorry. It's sweet. Corn. It's a sweet caramely bourbon. It tastes. Did we talk about that? I don't feel like I talked about how sweet this tastes.
Yeah.
It tastes sweet.
It tastes like caramel and corn. Not caramel corn, but caramel and corn.
You can definitely get that. There's oak there too.
Yeah.
It's a well-balanced bourbon.
Does it have an oaky afterbirth?
No, it's in the pre-birth.
The pre-birth. An oaky pre-birth. Yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Miranda?
Next week, for the bourbon, just so everybody's aware, because we're supposed to announce this in advance. We suck sometimes at communication.
Well, excuse me. It was put on our Twitter and put in the Discord.
Look who has not looked at the Discord or our Twitter. I've looked at other Twitter stuff.
sg.pn/discord to join the Discord. There is a bar there.
We are doing Weller Antique next week.
Yes. Weller Antique, and then Weller 12, and then Eagle Rare. Yeah. That's all I have. Make sure you come back next week. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about, but we're going to be back with more NFL news and whiskey reviews. We're going to have some bets for you, of course. And yeah, that's all I got. Do you got anything else?
No.
Great episode. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
cheers, Miranda.
Cheers.
Weren't ready for that. Boom. And we are out of here.